Do you get all gross and sweaty when you think about the multiple choice questions on the AP Language and Composition test? Do you not even know the difference between the reading and writing multiple choice questions? Well, don't fret, sis. After this video, you'll be slaying those AP writing multiple choice questions. Yes. Before I teach you about the writing questions, we should make sure you have a general understanding of the AP Language and Composition test. The AP Language and Composition test is divided into two sections, the multiple choice section and the essay question. The multiple choice questions are 1 hour long, and there will be 43 to 45 questions. The essay section will be 2 hours and 15 minutes. Yes! And you'll have the chance to write 3 essays. If you're interested in videos about the essays, I have good news for you. I have lots of videos for you on this YouTube channel. So like and subscribe so you make sure that you're notified of future videos. The multiple choice section is further divided into 2 sections. One is called the reading section. That section asks you to comprehend a reading passage and to analyze it rhetorically and to answer questions. Good news for you, I have a separate video about that. Yes, I'll link it below. Yes. Finally, we come to the writing section where you read passages that kind of resemble drafts of writing, and you are asked to make choices of the best revision to that passage from the perspective of a writer. The reading section has 2 sets of 23 to 25 questions, and the writing section will have 3 sets of 20 to 25 total questions. The reading section will have 1 olden time style passage and 1 current style passage, but the writing section will have all passages that are written with a contemporary style because they're made to resemble examples of modern writing. Now, all of this might seem a little intimidating, but you can get through the multiple choice section safely by following a few strategies. You've basically got 2 tasks you have to do in order to answer these questions. 1 is you have to read the passage, and 2, obviously, you have to answer the questions. When you read the passage, you should do so actively, with attention for the overall organization of the passage and for style and for rhetorical choices. In this section, you should also be looking for parts of an essay that either seem missing or a little wonky. Maybe there won't be a hook, for example, in the introduction. Maybe the thesis will be unclear. Maybe there are parts with topic sentences that are missing, or maybe some of the rhetorical choices just seem a little off. As you're reading, keep an eye out for these because there may be questions based on these problems in the passage that you see. And when you get to the question, you should employ all of the strategies that I detail in my longer introductory video, which I've linked in the description. But the main thing you should do is remember that AP is mean and it will try to trick you. It knows how you think and it will try to take advantage of knowing how you think to mislead you. With 3 types of answers that are going to be wrong and are designed to distract you, and you're not going to believe this, but they're called distractors. The first type of distractor is an answer that has 2 parts, but only one is correct. If only one of the parts of the answer is correct, you should eliminate it. Second is when a statement might be true, but it doesn't answer the question. If the true statement does not answer the question, you should eliminate it. 3, it might be a vague version of the correct answer. If there's a more specific correct answer, you should pick that answer. Now, I'll walk you through one of the writing multiple choice questions. You can see how I read, and you can also see how I approach eliminating some of the answers. If you can eliminate wrong answers, that increases your chances of getting the right answer. Yes.
Today's helper is the snuggler. Have you ever seen her outside? She likes to go outside sometimes and just like kind of sit around on the pavement. Yeah, Licky Boy likes to go over there. Snug likes to go on the pavement and just kind of flop around a little bit. Snug, snug, snuggle up. Snug, snug, snuggle up. I know, it's hard to be a baby. Sometimes she gets a little sneezy. Snuggler, snuggle-luggle-luggler.
Now let's look at some questions together. We'll read the passage together, and we're going to read it with an eye for revision. So we're going to read for parts that just look a little wonky. We're going to look for some, maybe see if there's missing hooks or a missing thesis, missing transitions, grammar problems, anything that looks weird to us might be useful. It's possible that this machine will ask us about it later. All right, and I'm gonna read a part out loud and part in my head, and I'll comment a little bit as I go through it. It says, the passage below is a draft. It'll always say that if it's a writing question. Except for the professional opportunities archaeology affords and the state-of-the-art technologies that archaeologists use, many people might assume that archaeology has little to do with the present. Interesting hook. After all, archaeology is the study of human history. A recent finding at Eleutherna, the site of an ancient Greek city on Crete, provides a striking example. Unearthing the skeleton of a woman, archaeologists struggled to interpret the unusual signs of strain on the bones until they watched a local craftsman at work. The archaeologist's interpretation not only challenges popular assumptions about archaeology, but also forces archaeologists to re-examine their assumptions about women's work in Greece. Eleutherna research discovered the skeleton in 2009. So now I can see, having gone through it, that this is kind of a short passage about discovery and about studying discovery and about how studying discovery taught people not only something about the discovery itself and our understanding of the past, but also made these people rethink archaeology a little bit. Really exciting. Let's look at the question. The writer wants to add commentary after sentence 10. So we'll be on sentence 10, whoa, right here, that further explains the significance of the evidence presented in the sentence in relation to the paragraph's line of reasoning. Which of the following sentences, if inserted after sentence 10, best accomplishes this goal? Interesting. Let's look at the options. In fact, the women of ancient Athens know. How did you know that so fast, Dr. Zuba? You may be wondering. Well, because I'll tell you that it says it's Crete, not Athens. So no to A. No activity typically associated with women would have taxed the body to the extent evidenced by the skeleton's tense. As deploying skeleton models, the archaeologists tried bread baking, weaving, harvesting, etc., but to no. So I'm just kind of plugging this into my head here. And this sentence B looks like a possibility to me because it mentions a skeleton. In the previous sentence talked about skeleton models. So let's leave that open as a possibility. C. The type of skeleton models used by the archaeologists at Eleutherna are able to mimic human body. That's really interesting, but it doesn't seem like it's commentary. I don't see any connection there between the mystery that it's at the end of the sentence and option C. D. Women in ancient Greece are also closely associated with religious practices, especially ritual care of the dead. Whoa, that's very interesting, but I don't think that's right because there's just nothing in that paragraph that is connected to religious practices or ritual care of the dead. So I'm going to say the answer is B, yo. Let's move on to the next question. The writer wants to improve the coherence of the first paragraph by adding a transitional sentence between sentences 2 and 3. Which of the following choices most effectively accomplishes this goal? Well, let's look at sentences 2 and 3. 2. After all, archaeology is the study of human history. And 3, a recent finding at Eleutherna. So this is a transitional sentence between a general hook, a general introduction, and then a transition to the more specific study that's being discussed in this passage. Let's look at our answers. A, the European continent has a rich archaeological history. I doubt it, especially because this passage is about Eleutherna on the city of Crete, which, based on my understanding of geography, is an island in the Mediterranean Sea. So it's not about the European continent. And even if it was, this is kind of a bland statement that doesn't really work here. B, actually, human prehistory, the long stretch of time before written records were kept, is also very important to the discipline. That also does not make any sense because this actually duplicates the purpose of the second sentence, but it substitutes prehistory for history. So it doesn't make any sense that they would muddy up this whole idea of history with prehistory. C, nonetheless, skeletal remains figure prominently among the artifacts archaeological study. You know what? I'm thinking no, because you would not put this sentence before the idea of the skeleton of the woman being discovered. So I'm going to eliminate C. D. However, insights from the present inform the discipline in many ways. Whoa, that one makes sense. For one thing, the transition word however makes sense because the rest of the passage contradicts the idea that archaeology has little to do with the present in sentence 1. And 2, the rest of the sentence after however just serves as a good idea of what this passage is going to be about, because the passage is about the ways that these people studied people in Greece in the present and the way that that study then helped them figure out what people were doing in the past. So the answer is D. 35. Which of the following versions of the underlined portions of sentence 7 reproduced below best maintains the writer's predominant tone? All right, so this says, examining her remains, the archaeologists eyeballed something truly wacky. Unlike the cartilage of other female specimens at the site, cartilage on the upper right side of the skeleton's body and on the right hip and knee joints was almost completely worn away. So it's looking now for a substitute for this part that is underlined, where it says eyeballed something truly wacky, which now that I see it underlined, it really does kind of stand out as not being tonally consistent with the rest of the passage. So let's look at our options. A, the archaeologist as it is now. That doesn't really make any sense. B, clued in on a weird thing. I think that is kind of a little better maybe, but it's still pretty casual language considering the formality of the rest of the passage. C, noticed a fascinating detail. That seems like a strong maybe, because noticed is a synonym for eyeballed, and fascinating detail might be something truly whack. D, saw something really out there. That kind of means the same thing as eyeballed something truly wacky. However, it is not tonally consistent because it is so informal. So I'll tell you a secret. The answer is C. All right, let's look at another one. The writer is considering deleting sentence 8. This anomaly signified that the woman must have engaged in a long-term strenuous activity involving the right side of her body. Should the writer keep or delete this sentence? So now I think I need to read sentence 7 and maybe sentence 9. So I'm going to do that. Examining her remains, they eyeballed something truly wacky, and like the cartilage of the other side, the cartilage on the upper right side. All right, so let's look at our possible answer. Keep it because it establishes the cause-effect of a relationship that is elaborated on in the sentences that follow. Keep it because it defines a term that helps the audience contextualize the passage's main. A, I'm thinking maybe, does it establish a cause and effect relationship? I feel a little bit like it's the right side, worn away, strenuous activity. It's maybe A, but I don't think it's B because it doesn't define a term. D, delete it because the word anomaly is not consistent with the information provided in the preceding sentence. Nope, that's not right because an anomaly would be wacky. D, delete it because it conflicts with the tone. D, I don't think it's D. You know what? The answer is A. Keep it. It does establish a cause and effect relationship. So even if you don't quite have A in your head as the reason for keeping it, I hope you're still seeing the way that the process of elimination helps you arrive at the best answer. All right. Let's do a few more. 38. Which of the following versions of the underlined portions of sentence 13 reproduced below best maintains the credibility of both the writer and the finding being discussed for an audience of scientists? So I'm noticing some of these are really nice because you don't even have to go back to the passage to see sentence 13. It puts it there for you. Analyzing her movements as she worked on large vases and listening to her detail the physical toll of the work, the team was convinced that the ancient Eleutherian woman whose skeleton was mostly studying must have been a potter, a guess later confirmed by medical imaging and further anatomical modeling. So our interesting word is the gas. Okay, so A, as it is now. As it is now means it's just going to stay the same. B, sneaking suspicion. That doesn't sound very like it helps credibility because sneaking is something that someone who is not credible would do. C, random notion. I'm thinking that for a scientific audience, the idea of a random notion is not going to make that person more credible. D, hypothesis. What? I think it's hypothesis because scientists love to talk about hypotheses. Yes. If you're enjoying this, please follow along with me. Which of the following types of evidence, if added to the third paragraph, sentences 11 to 13, would most effectively support the conclusion reached by the research? So I have to go to sentences 11 through 13. Oh my gosh, I have to read that whole paragraph now? All right, I'm going to read it a second. All right, I can see this paragraph describes a sequence of events. A, anecdotal evidence. No, because the evidence was not anecdotal. It was anecdotal means it was evidence that was told to them, but it was not told to them. It was established through direct observation. So the answer is clearly not A. B, personal observations by the researchers regarding how they were able to convince the female ceramicist to model. No, because if they had to convince the person, then that wouldn't serve as good evidence. C, statistics showing how many pottery makers live in the vicinity. Maybe? D, details about the mechanics of pottery making to show exactly how the craft would have been. Ooh, all right. D is the best answer because they are studying this cartilage worn on the skeleton. C would just be about probability based on the frequency of pottery makers and the percentages of them there being women. That would just be probability. It could just be a coincidence that it was a woman. But here the details about the mechanics of pottery making is what you would be like. Whew. All right. Wow. Let's see if we can do a couple more. The writer wants sentence 17 to summarize key aspects of the passage argued. Lutherna researchers supplementing Greece's archaeological discoveries acknowledge that they have more to learn. All right. So I need to look for a substitute now for this part that's underlined that summarizes key aspects of the passage as it is now. I don't think so because, I don't know. I just don't think so because most of the passage isn't really about archaeological discoveries in general. B, excited by how this finding reinforces the other surprising discoveries at Lutherna. I would not say that this one helps me because there are no other discoveries from Lutherna that are really mentioned here. C, inspired by a contemporary craftswoman to rethink their preconceived ideas about women's labor in the ancient world. Wow. Whoa. I haven't read option D so far, but C sounds pretty good right now. Because this passage is about women's labor in the ancient world because it's about them being potters. And it's also has to do with the contemporary craftswoman because that's how they figured out that it was a potter. D, adding to our knowledge of a period of Greek history known as the Iron Age due to the importance of iron working during this time. So this one, I'm going to say, is just clearly wrong, yo, because there's nothing about iron working in this passage. You're only going to pick D if you didn't read the passage at all. So the answer is clearly C. 41. The writer is considering adding a direct quotation from a source to the final paragraph. All right, that could be interesting. Which of the following sentences, if added to the paragraph, would most effectively support an important element of the writer's thesis? All right, so now we've got to read these quotations and figure out which seems to match the thesis the best. A, forensic anthropologist Anagostis Aglarakis describes the finding at Eleutheria with great enthusiasm. It signifies that women held craft specialization roles in antiquity, which I think is very important. Wow. Without reading the rest of the answers, this one sounds pretty good because pottery is a specialization. And this passage does seem to think it's important that women had the specialization as a potter. But let's not pick this. Let's read the rest. B, as forensic anthropologist Anagostis Aglarakis notes, most people don't realize that bone is a live organ. Now, it may be true that bone is a live organ, but I'm thinking this is wrong. I'm thinking this is what's called a distractor. There is a true statement in it that bone is a live organ, but bone being a live organ? See, journalist Kara Giamio explains that the techniques the researchers used to study the skeletal remains were also used to figure out how gladiators... No, there's nothing about gladiators in there. No. D, Smithsonian writer Milan Sully explains that archaeologists previously unearthed the graves of 4 priestesses. No, this isn't about priestesses at all. It's about, I don't even have to finish reading that answer. No! So the answer is clearly A. So we would pick A. And that's all the questions we have time for today. I hope this video has helped you understand how to answer the writing multiple choice questions on the AP Language and Composition test. Just to review, the way to approach these questions is to read with an eye for things that look wonky, like missing information or language that doesn't seem to match the tone, or for a thesis that doesn't seem quite right, or missing evidence, and that can help you maybe anticipate what some of the questions might be. Then, once you go to the questions, just read each question carefully. As you saw some of these questions, in order to answer them, you didn't even have to go back to read the passage because the sentences were reproduced for you. Use process of elimination to figure out which is the best answer. I hope that I've shown you how to think through process of elimination in this video. If you liked this video, come back for more Zubify. Thanks for watching Zubify.